Chapter 2. Let's get stuck in. The Gutzsmasher began to shake as it plowed through the lower atmosphere of the planet. Below was a veritable soup of polluted clouds churning underneath. Occasional bursts of greenish lightning flashed just beneath the swirling smog. A few stark black Gothic towers peeked through the clouds, giving the planet the appearance of a spiky fruit that had gone rotten on the vine. The Gutzsmasher was abuzz with activity. "Get to the big guns! Give 'em plenty of dakka! Where's Captain Crump? Get your storm boys ready! What are you lot up to? Where's Axe-Boy Jax? Why ain't we rocking?" As Gutzmangul barked orders, grots ran this way and that with belts of enormous ammunition dragging behind them. Boys were loading their sluggers and shooters or manning the big guns. Ba, the mad doc, ran past, his arms full of syringes, several of which he had stuck in himself. Whatever fluids were in those tubes, the doc had a manic look in his eyes, and he started to foam at the mouth at the prospect of so many new clients. "They needs fixin'! They all needs fixin' soon enough!" Captain Crump was a freebooter captain who lost his ship in a big scrap with some Eldar corsairs. He never said what happened, just that, "Oh, it was worth it to see the looks on those get-pansy faces," and didn't seem to mourn the loss of his cruiser. Lacking a ship, he decided to do the next best thing. Sign up with a warboss, strap a rocket to his back, and launch himself into the fight. It was almost like having a ship again, just really small. When Captain Crump reached the Stormboy tubes, most of his boys were ready. The captain donned his flashy captain's hat, which was promptly bolted to his skull by one of the lesser mechs to keep it from falling off in the fight. Bolts of lightning lanced through the sky as the Gutzsmasher careened through the smog. In the bowels of the Gutzsmasher, Gretchen were fussing with masses of wires, plugging fistfuls in at random. Axe-Boy Jax ran his thick orc fingers over the strings of what one might imagine was an instrument. Log and Blog stood behind him, manning a massive steel drum and a second stringed noise machine respectively. On the stage was crudely emblazoned Axe-Boy Jax and the Maniacs. Jax mashed his foot on an enormous button on the floor, and the whole Vox system of the Orc vessel was filled with tremendous screeching feedback. Massive sound projectors on the exterior of the vessel made sure the inhabitants of this planet could hear it as well. "Hello, whatever this planet is called. This one goes out to the sorry geese. Was about to get fragged to Zog. Ready! 1, 2, red, go!" Jax threw his head back and tore into a furious pounding riff as Log and Blog added to the din with harsh metallic clanging and deep chugging to create the sound of a very rhythmic, very loud, very orky machine. The whole rock vibrated as the noise, and the boys began to get raucous, punching the plasteel walls of the ship and each other. Gutzmangul gripped his enormous custom shooter with one hand and flexed his claw on the other. Snickwit scampered onto the warboss's shoulder, a grot burner in his hand, preparing to repel any who might board Gutzmangul's enormous frame. Through the looky screen, the clouds suddenly parted to reveal a teeming hive city below. The Gutzsmasher breached the clouds, an enormous visage of an orc skull on the front of the rock greeted the Imperial citizenry as the Gutzsmasher emerged from the smog. Very soon after, they were also greeted by a thick hail of macro cannon fire and smaller fire coming from the hundreds of gun ports on the Gutzsmasher, their explosions gouging the rockcrete buildings. The humans on the surface were starting to panic, trying to respond. Massive ground-based cannons were swinging as quickly as they could to target the plummeting orc rock. "Here we go, boys! War!" Echoing the warboss's war cry, the Storm Boys launched, Captain Crump leading the charge. The Storm Boys' tubes opened and the captain roared out, firing wildly. He and his boys left thick black smoke trailing behind them. He quickly surveyed the cityscape and noted the big guns swiveling to target the rock. Small Arms' fire was already starting to pepper the Git Smasher with little effect. Captain briefly attempted to shout to the other Storm Boys, but immediately gave up when he realized he couldn't even hear himself over the roar of, well, everything. Instead, he kicked at the two boys flying close enough to him to reach, sending them spiraling towards the two biggest gun emplacements, as Crump himself flew towards an enormous cannon mounted on an even more enormous sky-piercing tower. As he had hoped, the Storm Boys seemed to be getting the idea, and began following him to the big gun. Inside the rock, Gutzmangul and the rest of the boys were boiling with battle frenzy, just waiting for impact. The Git Smasher began taking fire from rocket launchers and medium gun emplacements, breaking pieces of the rock loose and silencing a few of the big Daka cannons. But it was far too late. The Git Smasher plowed into the surface of the hive world, the hab structure smashing to pieces under the weight of the converted asteroid and the bulk of tens of thousands of orcs inside. From the moment the Git Smasher appeared in the skies over Sturkis Populi, the capital hive of Sordus Prime, to the moment of impact was roughly 1 minute. By the luck of Mork, Gutzmangul and his boys had managed to materialize less than 1 kilometer above the highest spires of the governor's palace atop the hive, circumventing their orbital defenses. The rock smashed into the center of the hive, the planet shuddering as the shock wave tore through the hab, shattering glass and sending clouds of shrapnel into the fleeing population of Imperial citizens. The Git Smasher cracked open like an egg as tens of thousands of orc boys poured out. And now a word from one of Gutzmangul's boys.
Yeah, this is Boy Jax, and I just want to say a few things to me fans out there. If you want to keep me rocking, make sure you give a like and subscribe. And for those of you wondering and asking about me galactic tour and where we's gonna play next, don't you worry. We'll come to you eventually.